Hello. Hello there. I am Lise Colucci, and I'm one of the life coaches at queenbeing.com, where we help you to discover, understand, and overcome narcissistic abuse, toxic relationships, and all the stuff that goes with that. Hello, Butterfly Mama and James. How are you two today? I'm waiting for the weird delay to stop, and then I will speak about what we're talking about today. So, how you guys doing? Hopefully you had a lovely weekend. It was nice out here. I don't know how it was there. Okay. Did it stop yet? No. Okay. Keep going. We'll wait. There it is. No. Okay. So today we're going to talk about pleasing. Good test to tell about. Oh, good. What do you want to tell, Paula? Hot and dry there. Yeah, let's talk the weather for a bit. There we go. We got it now. Okay, so today, let's talk about people pleasing, being people pleasers, right? And how to stop. So, first of all, we know that when we are people pleasers, it plays right into a narcissist's life, right? They are they expect and need you to be people-pleasing type of people, right? So if you become less of a people pleaser, you are less likely to be good supply to anyone that is narcissistic, right? So let's talk about that. I'm reading Rick here. Narcissist as I expected on my birthday. So predictable. And I didn't reply. Oh, good. Excellent. That's a birthday gift to yourself then. No reply, no contact. Do your birthday anyway. Happy birthday, Paula. I hope you did something fun for yourself, right? Okay, so people pleasing. So let's look at people pleasing from, we know what it is, right? It's doing things for others so that we feel worthy, accepted, loved, cared for. It's the constant giving toward other people without any receiving back, sort of to the point where it drains you. It's the codependent, so to speak, types of behaviors that keep us hooked with toxic people of all kinds. And it's not really an authentic way to live your life, nor is it very healthy for yourself, right? We know this and we wonder how to stop. People ask, but I don't know how to stop. I can't stop. It's who I am, right? No, it is possible to stop. So look at the things that you do. Look at the behaviors and the ways that you are people pleasing in your life. And this is the discovery part, okay? We'll go through this in the duo method. Discover what it is about yourself that is a people pleaser. How are you going through life people pleasing, and what are you doing? Do you say yes when you want to say no? Do you offer to help people when they haven't specifically asked for help? Do you make sure everybody else is taken care of before yourself? What do you do, right? Look at those things. And then go on to the understanding and really start to understand what it is about those things that you're doing, that what's underneath it. So we know we people please because it feels good. Partly it feels good to give to people. So we do it. Partly we can say, but I'm a giver and I'm a good person and I'm an empath and I love people and I want people to be happy and it feels good, right? We want to serve others is serve others to a fault, Butterfly Mama says. And hello, Robin. And so looking at that is one level, right? Go underneath it. What's deeper than that? Do you fear that the person will leave you? Do you fear abandonment? Do you fear rejection? Do you fear being selfish? Do you fear, like, what is under it? There's usually a fear or a negative side to this because we're not 100% altruistically people pleasing. That would be a different thing. When it becomes kind of dark and toxic in your life and you know you need to stop doing it, there's usually something underneath there that you have to look at for yourself. So that's where the understanding comes in. So once you've discovered what you're doing and you understand why you're doing it, or at least partially why you're doing it, what belief do you have? And then you can start working on the overcoming. And if your fear is abandonment, well, then you restate that I am allowed to say no, and people can make their own choices whether to be in my life or not. Or I can say no to this, and if someone leaves because of that, then they were probably toxic to begin with. You know, it's letting go of and accepting that not everyone's going to like it when you stop people pleasing. And generally speaking, those that don't like it and leave needed to go anyway, you know? So it's understanding and then finding what it is you need to work with to overcome. And it's going to be different for everybody, of course, and the overcoming, I'll give you some ideas for how to overcome as we talk here. And you guys add in too, if you have anything that's helped you, or if you have any specific personal things that you want to ask about this or about anything else, obviously ask away. So one thing to ask yourself once you figure out what it is you're doing and why you're doing it is this actually kindness and generosity, or am I simply trying to people please? I can't even read my writing there. What's the intent? Let's just say that. That's what I would say. I'm not going to worry about what I wrote because I can't read it. But what's your intent? What's your actual intent? Being honest with yourself. And if your intent is, well, I like to please, but I also, you know, if there's any other intent besides kindness and generosity, sometimes it just is. You just want to give to someone, and that's okay. But sometimes it's because of a fear, like I said, or there's something underlying it that is truly people-pleasing behaviors. James is saying, in my case, it was to people please so I'll feel good enough and good. Right. So you can see that the intention is to get something from someone else based on an action that you're doing. It's tricky because, yes, we do gain from external validation. And we do, when someone is appreciative, it is nice to be given back with appreciation. However, if that's the only reason you're doing something, or the main reason you're doing something, you're probably seeking it from people who don't naturally give, right? It sucks to realize, but it's good to see so you can change. Exactly. And it's finding ways to change. So, number one, not people pleasing is not selfish. Deciding that you're going to put yourself first, you're going to put yourself high on your priority list. Let's say high up there, one the top 3, all right, of your priority list, if not first, is not a selfish thing. Sometimes we can't always be first. Sometimes we have to be, you know, up there, but not number 1, just depending on the situation of your life. Tiny children, things like that, they kind of have to come pretty high up there. So, but it's not selfish to put yourself up there on the list. And it in fact is very important for those that you do give to in your life, that you take care of yourself in this way so that you have energy left for the things you want to do for other people, right? And so that you're doing it for the right reasons. So living authentically in your life, living as true to yourself as you can. When you wish to do something, do the thing. When you don't wish to do it, don't do it. You know, if obviously within reason, you can't do that with everything, right? But I'm talking about the things that would be things that you would use to people please with. So if you don't want to go to the party and drive your sister and do all these other things, don't do it, right? If you do, then do it, but do it authentically. Make a choice and have that choice come from what you actually want. And if you don't know what you want, then that's a place to look, because then that goes back to the beginning of discover what it is that you want, understand what it is, and then overcome the obstacles that are in your way, right? So I had something else about this. When you're alone, you can seek authenticity. When you're by yourself and you're moving through life and you're doing things, and I don't know, maybe say you go to the grocery store, or you go somewhere where there's people, wherever, and it's not personal, but you're having interactions with other people. You can see where you people please to strangers, right? Are you smiling at everyone just because you think it will bring something back to you, or that it will are you worried that people will think something of you, so you're smiling instead? Are you talking to the cashier because you don't want to hurt her feelings? You know, like there's all kinds of things we do that are people pleasing things, that happen in tiny, tiny doses all day long. And if you start looking at those and you can see where you can behave a little more authentically, like if you're in a quiet, closed mood and you don't, sometimes it's good to lift yourself up out of that mood. That's different than what I'm saying is you're walking around smiling so that everyone will feel better to be around you. And you're making everybody, you're worried about what other people think when they see you not beaming happy. Then you're people pleasing, right? Hi, Vicky and Janae and Robin. There's a fine line between people pleaser and just being a good supportive person friend. Exactly. There is a fine line and there's a wide line. It can depend. Sometimes it feels like a fine line until you go back and listen to your intent, until you go back and look for what's underlying it. Why am I doing this? Right? If you start to notice that everyone in your life is taking and you have nothing left, even good people will do this, because what happens when you're a people pleaser is you set up your life so that, unintentionally, of course, but you're setting up your life in a way where you're constantly giving and no one's giving back to you. So I can, in my own case, I may have no friends I can talk to, and yet everybody talks to me, right? Okay. And that would be my boundary I'd have to set up, where there are some reciprocal relationships in my life, or else I just need more time alone so I can go do it for myself. And saying no to people, I can't talk right now, would be my boundary. Does you see what I'm saying? And it's not because I'm seeking their attention per se. It's because of what you're talking about, being a good supportive person friend. But the fine line comes in there because I'm not doing myself any good by not recharging myself. Does that make sense? So it's not always an extreme thing. You're right. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's to avoid my own problems, I might try to help other people's. You know what I'm saying? So, and then I'm actually using them. When you're people pleasing, you're using people. It's the way it is. We don't mean to be. The intent is not harm. The intent is not to hurt people. It's not like a narcissist seeking supply. Okay. The intent is to do nice things for the other person, but there's an underlying intent of that I'm talking about. When people say I'm a people pleaser, they usually say it because they want to stop. Okay. Boundaries are the key to living a happy lifestyle. That's true. And that's what we're going to get to after the authenticity part. If you don't know who you are authentically, you can't set a boundary. You can set willy-nilly boundaries based on what other people tell you boundaries look like, but you can't set your own if you don't know who you are authentically. And when you've been with a narcissist, you've probably lost that. You've lost that piece of authenticity because they don't let you be authentic. They need you to play a role. They're playing a role. They're wearing a mask. The problem with living with a narcissist is that you have to wear a mask as well. You have to you don't wear a mask. You have to play a part and be a character in their little world that they've set up, their delusion of what the world looks like. You have to portray the right character, or else they're devaluing you all the time. So you lose authenticity. You're also devalued, shut down, told no, told that you're, all kinds of devaluing words. You know what I'm talking about from a narcissist, and that completely alters the way you feel about yourself, in which case you lose your authenticity, right? And so you have to find that piece again. I think it's important to, a lot of people try to skip this step, and and I think it's part of the fun is rediscovering who you are and discovering who you are to begin with. Sometimes if you've been with narcissistic parents and whatnot who've always dictated who you are, right? Who are you? If you don't know who you are, how do you set a boundary? You can't really. You can set only prescribed boundaries, like don't let someone, you can only set the ones people tell you to set, or what you're feeling in the moment, which aren't really, they're harder to stick to. Whereas if you can know who you are, like I know I don't want to go in crowded places. I don't like it. And if my friend who really wants to go, really, really, really wants to go, she's going to have to find someone else to go with. I'm sorry, I'm not going. And it's a hard line boundary. I'm not doing it. I would have to want to choose to cross that boundary for myself to enter into that situation. Does that make sense? I know this about myself. And as a people pleaser, I would do it anyway. And I'd be miserable the entire time. And I'd be uncomfortable and grouchy and causing all kinds of, other issues because I didn't listen to my authenticity. So if you don't know it, you got to find it. And once you find it, then you start setting the boundaries. Okay. And boundaries are super important. in this. They're kind of, so much of it is all about understanding who you are and setting the boundaries so that you can live your life the way you want to instead of the way other people are prescribing it to you. So let's see here. Hi, Diane, and Web Education and Tree Hugger. The situation with my ex and post-ex recovery has helped me realize who my people really are. That too, knowing who you should be around in a healthy way versus who will hurt you. So, yeah. Growing up, I never had much help when it came to certain things. So now when someone needs it, I feel empathic toward them and I feel the need to help them. And that's what I was talking about, looking for your intent, looking for your personal reason why you help people. Okay. And really looking at that, you can see it, right? Now, what do you do with it? What kind of questions can you ask yourself? How can you challenge the belief that's in there? It's hard to do on video coaching without actually being face to face, but I would ask you what's your belief underneath that? What happens? So what? That's what you ask yourself. So what? So what if I don't help them? What then? What then? How can you expand on that and get deeper into it so that you can look at the true belief in there? That is a true belief, but like a deeper belief. And then what do you do with it? Because that helping people in that situation, it comes from kindness and empathy and sympathy, but there's also some other fear in there. Like if you don't, then what? You feel terrible. Why? Why would you feel terrible? What would it mean about you if you didn't help? Then after you'll be mad at yourself for not sticking to that boundary. Right. Meditation is how I truly found myself authentically, and I'm an empath as well. Meditation is great, and I didn't have it on this list, so thank you. Meditation is great because it helps you come back into yourself and calm yourself 1 to a couple times a day so that you are able to experience yourself better. I do have something here. I say take a stop. When you see a situation, hi, Jack. You're in your camper van driving to where you can stop and get involved. Good. Okay. You drive. You be safe. You come back. So taking a break, taking a pause when you see yourself entering into people-pleasing situations. So back to web education. When you see yourself entering into helping someone in need, taking a pause there to see what's going on and what is good about this situation before you respond. Sometimes it's a combination because sometimes you have a good intent, like to help people who are in need because you know the hurt of never being helped, right? And sometimes you're doing it and it's draining you and hurting you too. Does that make sense? So it's understanding what's good. I mean, sometimes we take these lessons in life, these painful things, and we turn them into good by helping people when they're in need, like you described. But let me ask you, web education, what about it isn't good for you? What about it isn't useful? How is it people pleasing versus using sympathy and empathy to spread good in the world? Because sometimes it isn't. Sometimes it's okay. You're right. And sometimes there's something nefarious going on within yourself, towards yourself, right? That you can take a look at. Vicky says, my mother taught us girls to people please because my father was a narcissist and we walked on eggshells most of our childhood. Yes, indeed. Indeed. And if you don't people please, then what? Then what? All hell breaks loose is what? And horrible things happen to you is what? It's survival. So you learned it as survival. And so when it's survival, what can you do with it? Back to the beginning. You've identified it. So you've discovered, you are understanding it because you're seeing that it's more than just your childhood. I mean, it was a survival mechanism. So what can you do to understand that you don't need it to survive? That's my question. Ask yourself, why am I helping this person? Exactly. Why am I doing this? What is my aim? Is this a good situation? Is this person healthy or toxic for me to be around and help? I mean, and to what degree should I step in and help? And at what point do I stop? Right. Dad was always first. My feelings were put on the shelf. Right. So we've got to, again, finding our authenticity lets us know what our feelings actually are. Getting in touch with the feelings, as they say, forever and ever, right? But really understanding what it is you're feeling. When you've been taught to people please, most likely you've dissociated from the feelings so that you can people please. So there's that too. Okay. Understand when, okay, this is one of the tougher ones to say, and I don't mean this critically at all, okay, because we all do it. But it's true. People pleasing is about you. It isn't about the other person. That's the difference. Giving of yourself authentically and in an altruistic way of compassion is about everything. It's about yourself and others, right? There's no expectation back, right? Giving in a way that is people pleasing, it's about you. And it's usually fear, survival. A part of ourself doesn't feel good enough, our worth, things like that we do it for. So as you can hear in this that it all leads back to our belief about ourselves. And so the answer to stopping people pleasing is yes, stop the actions and watch them, but also understand what it is about yourself so that you can work on those negative beliefs and those limiting beliefs in your life. And as you work through those limiting beliefs, the people pleasing changes. Okay, it may still be there on some level, but it changes, and at least it gives you awareness around it so that you can make choices rather than, also realize it is a choice. Okay, at a certain point, once you have enough understanding and awareness, it can become a choice. And then that's when the pause can come in. And that's when all of this, you setting boundaries and all of this, you can't set a boundary without realizing it's a choice to set that boundary. And you have a right to set that boundary. And it's your life. It's not selfish, right? To take care of yourself within the situation and within the dynamic. So, okay. Many hurdles with this one. First, learning to say no, then dealing with others' reactions to my no, because I've always said yes, exactly. And when you deal with others' reactions, it triggers the old beliefs, right? It triggers old beliefs and new beliefs you didn't even know that were there. And it triggers all of that stuff because people are going to react. When you stop people pleasing, even your best friend, who's the most wonderful person in the world, is going to wonder what the heck's up with you. It's abrupt and it's out of character. It's something people rely on you for is your people pleasing. And so one of the things in my tips is take it in steps. Don't do it all at once, because otherwise you just get a wrath of everyone's confusion and emotions coming at you, which can just throw you back into just people pleasing because it's easier, right? So take baby steps. It's the same with boundaries, baby steps toward the aim, unless someone's toxic. If they're toxic, who cares? But if they are not toxic, then why make it so difficult, right? For everybody. If your best friend or your friend is used to you being that people pleaser, then if you change overnight, they're going to freak out and think you're mad at them, or it's going to create issues if you take it in baby steps or even tell them what you're doing. Hopefully, if they're good people, they support you and they understand that it's something you need to do for yourself to become a healthier person, right? Okay. Paula says, I used to give my time a lot, but then I realized I was doing it to show how kind I was, and the other person was just selfish anyway. Exactly. And that's the problem is toxic people take advantage of this to an extreme. Okay. It's the perfect setup. It's all give and no take. You don't even have an expectation of receiving back. You do, but it's buried. It's buried because, half the time people don't know why they people please, right? They don't know the deeper reason. They think, or they may stop at something like, because I was taught to by my parents. Well, there's a belief under there that you believe about yourself that makes it really tricky to step out of, right? Unless you can see it. If you can see it, it kind of like shatters the bubble of the mystery of it, right? And it stops pointing the blame back at the initial abuse, which we do need to understand. And there's not an excuse for people to treat children that way. But at this point in our life, we have to look at our actions moving forward, right? Pleasing people isn't my problem. I have learned to please myself, and that's not selfish. Perfect. Result, I'd end up feeling rejected. In short, on returned affection and appreciation. I went the other way and came across as selfish, which I'm not. And who cares how you come across to someone toxic, honestly? If they're doing that, they're toxic and it doesn't really matter, in my opinion. So, yeah. Let's see here. This is a good one. Learn direct and clear communication for your needs. We often, as people pleasers, do not know how to say things in a way that is clear, direct, and firm. So learn, you can look it up even, looking up ways to speak directly to people about your needs. But things like, thank you, but I do not have time right now. I appreciate you asking. I don't have time. Today isn't going to work for me. I'm just using time things, but you can apply it however you want. It's important to learn a language that is clear, concise, firm, and brief. You don't need a long dialogue. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to worry. You don't need to pander to the other person's reaction, honestly, unless you say it harshly and rudely and you didn't mean to. That would be different. But if you say something, telling someone no, or telling someone you can't, or changing the terms of things so that you're not the one always giving, is not a bad thing. It's not a negative thing. And having a language that's clear and concise around it can help. So showing disapproval in my facial expressions with adult, hard to do. What do you mean, Jack? You have a big question at the end and a dilemma to ask. Okay, good. I mean, not good, but I will try to remember that. And I only have a little bit more here. So we're going to end this part pretty soon. So we'll do that. Okay. Okay. James is saying he'll make sure I see it. Maybe he'll copy and paste it over if it depends how busy the chat is. When it's busy, I lose things. Okay. Let's see. Anything else? What am I missing? So say no, that's okay, and walk away usually works for me. Exactly, Vicky. And it can be difficult with some people. Saying no, that's okay, or no thanks, or can't do that right now can be really challenging for some people. So it's good, but the clear language helps. You have to be your own friend in this, okay, and realize that you are trying to be there for yourself. It's not selfish. It is self-care, really. And so through all of this, what you're doing when you're setting boundaries, when you're using clear language, when you're saying things authentically for what you actually want to do and what you don't want to do, based on how you actually feel about it, not what you think other people are wanting from you or needing from you so that you'll get love and affection or approval, you are teaching people how to treat you. And like I said earlier, that teaching people how to treat you can take time and a little bit of delicacy when it's people that are already in your life. People that are new to your life, you get to do it just kind of from the get-go. You teach people how to treat you by setting these boundaries, by knowing what it is you want, by knowing how far you'll go. For instance, I won't cook for anyone I don't know. I used to. You know what I mean? Like things that trying to offer favors to people you barely know so that you can become closer in friendship. You know what I mean? Those kind of things with new people sets the tone that you are a people pleaser and you will do this for them forever and ever. It sets a tone. If you back off and you just wait for the friendship to evolve naturally, then you don't have that setup, right? Because you've already set the boundaries. I only said no because I was exhausted and had no more energy for anything else. Right. Oh, saying no and that I won't be able to do that right now to my ex-narc helped them to discard me. Right. And that's good. This is what we want. This is what I'm saying. The more of a people pleaser you are, the more of supply you are to a narcissist. It's important with healthy people in your life. It's important with, casual relationships in your life to know how to not be a people pleaser, but it's extra important when you've got toxic people around you or you think you might attract toxic people around you. It's the ultimate narc supply. Okay, the narcissist depends on you being a people pleaser. They use it they learn your fear. So they'll find your fear underneath it before you even know what it is. Because they have that kind of radar and they read people, right? They've groomed you already to begin with. And so they will find that fear in you and they will, what's the word I'm trying to say? They'll use that fear as like the thing to hold over your head. So if they know you fear abandonment and you say no to them, they'll pack their stuff and go. If they know you fear not being good enough and you say no to them, they'll start the devalue cycle, right? So, and then what happens is the trauma bonds are there and the whole narcissistic abuse cycle is there. And so then you'll start the fawning and the people-pleasing behavior right up again, not realizing that they have just pushed your button, and all they had to do was push that little button and you're right back to people-pleasing. So what happens when we're outside of narcissistic relationships, I think, is we're pushing our own button because we're making assumptions that if you say no to someone, that they will have a reaction to you that is negative. Okay. So maybe they do, maybe they don't, right? Maybe someone makes a face and we think, oh my gosh, they hate me. I'm so bad. I should have just done the thing. Why didn't, when you say no, whatever it is you're thinking, you're making an assumption on their reaction without asking. Okay. So it becomes a cycle. We can't worry about what the other person is feeling or thinking. That's theirs. Unless they directly say, you know what, when you said no, it upset me because, and then you'd actually have a conversation about it and it might get somewhere, right? But making assumptions doesn't actually serve anything except to push your own buttons about your own fears. And everyone's going to have a different fear there. So it's important to understand what it is that's happening within you when you are people pleasing. You can see why. So another strategy people use is doing the opposite when they have the urge to people please. If you say yes all the time, say no. If you say no, say yes, that kind of thing. Doing the opposite can help you try something different and see what it feels like. Know that you're going to be uncomfortable. It's totally uncomfortable to change your ways. It's totally uncomfortable to step out of people pleasing and into an authentic lifestyle, even if that lifestyle is one of giving. It's super uncomfortable. Setting boundaries with people when you're a giver is really, really uncomfortable. Even on the level of, when it's your job, it can be uncomfortable to have to say no to someone. Even when the people serving or people helping kind of job you have is set up, right? It can be super uncomfortable when you have to set boundaries, unless you have figured out what it is you were seeking in the first place, and then you can work from there. Anyway, so let's go here and see. Junae is wondering how to co-parent with a narcissist. What's going on? You don't co-parent, you do damage control, basically. You keep things cut and dry about the kids only. Document things, send emails only, do not use text. Use a form of communication that is no immediate response expected unless it's an emergency. I don't know, what's the situation that you need help within that? Because that's a big topic, right? My narcissist disappeared off the planet, only minor test Sunday, but that's it. So yes, my behavior to please kept my narcissist in my life. It does. It's the one thing that's hard to let go of. It's really hard. And it's not the one thing, it's a thing, right? You have MS, and my ex-husband used it saying, I'm going to be lonely for the rest of my life. Of course. That's what they do, right? They find your, hello, Jess. My job is actually helping me get out of my comfort zone. Excellent. Assumptions. Y'all know the saying, says James. Yeah, we know. I like helping. It's natural in me, but I agree. You have to know when to put boundaries up and what you're allowed and should be doing. Exactly. Ask yourself, what's good about this? Why am I doing this? What's good in this situation? Do I want to be giving right now? I realize I'm giving. Do I have the energy for this? Is this coming from a place of giving, or is this coming from a place of need in me? And if it's coming from a place of need in me, how can I fill that need before I go ahead and do this thing? Does that make sense? People will give back to you without you giving if they genuinely care, right? Not that you should never give. I'm not saying don't ever give. It's just the people pleasing thing. It's the part that, so how do I do what I do? What's the question in that? What do you mean? How do I do what I do because number one, I don't have an expectation of reciprocation my reciprocation is when people randomly tell me something helped. And that isn't an ego boost. That is me being joyful that somebody got, it's giving, right? And so keeping all the people happy and guided. And in my own life, I'm very, very, very careful lately who I let in. And I'm talking even for an hour, right? I'm careful who I personally let in and around me. And I would rather hang out by myself than hang out with people that drain me. And I'm careful with friends that the giving goes back and forth, that the people I choose in my life give as well as take, because I need to give too, right? Do I use a bubble technique? Use a bubble technique. It isn't that hard. I can't visualize personally. Doesn't work. Can't do it. It's not, I have aphantasia apparently. I cannot visualize. The bubble technique does nothing for me whatsoever. For everyone else though, use it because if you can visualize, it's awesome to visualize a bubble of light around yourself and fill it with the color light that feels protective and healing to you in that moment, and keep that as a buffer between you and the world around you. For me, that's just a pretty concept, but for some people that is extremely helpful. So use it if it works. It's hard to have attention disorder, I swear, isn't it? And I mean, I literally can't. There's no image happening. I get intuitive understanding, but I don't have literal visualization. So it's very difficult. Anyway, that's how I do what I do, is I keep my personal life free of too much taking without giving, right? And Janae says, he withdrew my 16-year-old daughter from high school and it's wrong. And I have a juvenile judge on my side, thankfully. Oh my gosh. It's a big question how to co-parent with them. It's not even co-parenting. We know counter-parenting, right? I mean, you're doing the right thing, right? Getting the juvenile judge on your side and going about it that way. The more you push them, this is a whole long topic, but the more you push them, the more they're going to push back, right? So it's almost like, I think a lot of it, especially with ones that are being that manipulative and controlling, is letting them think that they have power somewhere. I almost don't want to say this live. I almost want to just send it to you privately. Don't give them any information. Okay. So anyway, it's keeping your calm, keeping your cool, only the facts, that kind of thing. It's really difficult parenting alongside a narcissist. And you have to understand that so much of it isn't going to work, right? It's so hard because they just keep going. They just keep going. It's diffusing it. I feel draining. People walk into my home and tell my kids their friend has to go. And I tell my kids their friend has to go. Right. Yeah, exactly. If someone's in your space, get them out. On a scale of 1 to 10, my threshold, this is web education, my threshold is about 8 for what I will accept. Thank you. Really good point. Okay. Need to work more on boundaries. Should be around a 0 tolerance for anything. It should be wherever you want it to be. Some things are a 0, some things are an 8, some things are a 3. It's not, we don't have to become solid walls, right? We have to learn authentically what it is we want in our life, where we can tolerate something and why we're tolerating it. I can tolerate a lot of nonsense for people that aren't toxic if it's certain nonsense, right? And other things I just can't tolerate. Unkindness, rudeness, obvious, not obvious, but, things that are triangulations, things that are just toxic behaviors in people that aren't toxic. Does that make sense? We all have something. So the tolerance, though, that's super important with this and with anytime we're talking about why we allow narcissists in our life, but continue to engage with, let's put it that way. why we continue to engage with narcissists in our life is that our tolerance for abuse, our tolerance for other people's nonsense is high. It's way too high. And it's like you have to lower your tolerance and raise your expectations. As you raise your expectations for how you will be treated in your life, then the people that don't meet the mark will fall away. It may take some effort and some boundary setting. And it's not, in a sense, you're pushing them away by putting your boundaries up. And that's okay. You have to be okay with all of that. Does that make sense? I'm kind of a zero to hero and back again, pretty brutal at times. It makes sense, Paula, because you can only take so much, then you're overwhelmed and you're done. And I don't know your personality type. Do you know what type you are? On the Myers-Briggs personality tell, I'm curious. Jack says, I cannot co-parent. They cut you out of everything. Doctor's school. You've got to tell the school and the doctors that no court decision has been made, and you're parenting also. You do. You have to let other people who are peripherally involved. I thought you were an INFJ there. So many of us are. No, I mean the Myers. Go on 16personalities.com if you want to take the test and do the little test there and see which personality type you are. It's super interesting. It's super interesting, and it helps you understand yourself a lot better. I have a guess, but I don't know because I just talked to you here, right? And I don't know everything, obviously. Let's see. Yeah, don't put the email address here. Sorry. But you can reach me at coachlise@gmail.com if you need anything. So let's see. Cool. I will. What's that again? It's 16personalities.com. And it has the test right there. It's free. So, all right. Anything else, you guys, about people pleasing? That was kind of a quick rundown with people pleasing. Anything? Paula, what was the issue you wanted to talk about before we're done? You had a question, you said. And did I miss anything, James, that you saw that I should get back to? I'm looking. I don't see anything. Okay. All right. So while Paula is getting her, if she still wants to ask the question, I will keep going here just with a few more things with people pleasing. So realize that if you are people pleasing, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. Okay. It's not, when we think of it in the way of, oh my gosh, I'm out to get something from someone, it makes me feel kind of bad. It makes me feel like I don't want to do that. That's not who I am. No, I don't. I don't do that. But we are most of the reason that we're people pleasing is the underlying wish for other people to be okay. Mostly we're doing it because of compassion and caring, okay? It's the underlying stuff, and the reason we do it without any boundaries, and the reason we do it without any, without even knowing why we're doing it. That's the things we got to look at. And you do it to avoid people upsetting, right? So, but you have to remember yourself in the equation. Are you pleasing you too? Are you doing something to create a life that you want, as well as helping and doing more for other people? That's a big one to look at. So, okay, Paula, did you have, I don't know if you're typing or not. I'm going to wait a second. I don't think so. I didn't see Paula asking the question. Okay. All right. What are you saying, James? Okay. All right. Anything else, you guys? Oh, where do you draw the line between people pleasing and not wanting to lose a valuable, treasured person, not the narcissist in your life? I think that what I said earlier about that was to take it in tiny steps. And actually, if they're valuable and important and treasured, then is there a reciprocal pleasing thing going on? Are you people pleasing and they're people pleasing back? You know what I mean? Is that just part of the nature of your relationship? Because I think with some people, there can be more authentic giving than there can be with other people. If not, if it's all you giving and they're treasured and wonderful, but they're not really good at giving back, then you start putting boundaries in place very, very, very slowly and very small. And you maybe even talk to them about it. Like, I don't know, what's something you might do for them? You might pick up their kids from school every Wednesday. And you might say, you know what, I've been doing this for a while and I realize it really is taking a lot out of my day that I don't have time for anymore. How can we back this off a little? Let me help you find someone else. What can we do? I'm really needing to take care of myself. And I know you want me to be happy too. So help me out here and let's help each other out. Something to help discuss it in a way that you had just chimed in. What do you mean? That's okay. There's no sorry needed there. I like the chime-ins. I'm trying to visualize what that looks like and how I would think to address it. But baby steps, not all at once with someone that you don't want to push out of your life, right? Paula's description of the 0 to hero approach is probably not serving her too well, right? I would assume because people get, completely shut down or they get everything, right? And it's not good for her. So it's tiny, tiny steps. Paid for the car behind me in McDonald's checkout line, and I felt great the rest of the day. Might be worth a try. Right. And that's a different situation, right? That's just giving. That's just generosity and it's kindness. And it's okay, right? What if they're a giver, but not a sacrificer? I think you set your own boundaries there. I think you find the places that aren't working in any relationship and you discuss them, or you find ways to work it so that we can't be afraid of people's reactions, but we also have to be fair with how we approach them. Does that make sense? Like they won't go out of their way to be inconvenienced. So that's their boundary, right? And you accept that that's their boundary. Are you happy going out of your way or do you hate it? If you hate it and are resenting it, then don't go out of your way, and just meet them in the middle. But do it slowly so that you're not just freaking out on them and stopping something they're super used to, especially if it's been a long, long time, right? Yeah, I understand what you're talking about with that type of person, but they're still givers. It can be frustrating. Not everyone's going to be able to do the same things, right? And I think I'm curious how you feel about being inconvenienced and going out of your way. I'm sure it's frustrating sometimes, but does it bother you on the whole? Or like for me, it doesn't bother me. Being inconvenienced is just changing routes. It's okay. Most of the time. Okay. And when it does bother me, it bothers me a lot, but then I say something, but when most of the time it's just like, oh, I'm just changing directions and going this way instead. It doesn't bother me. So in that case, if I have people in my life that are, great givers and wonderful friends, but they don't like to be inconvenienced and they won't be inconvenienced. I just know that about them and I don't ask them to. And I respect that boundary. But at the same time, maybe there's something I don't like doing, a little of both, right? It is a little of both, right? So, but maybe there's something that I'm all blurry. How do I fix it? There. Okay. Your battery died. We're still here. Yes. And did you have a question, Paula, before we end? That's what I was asking. And then you didn't come back. And I thought, oh, maybe she took off. Okay. What's the difference between codependency and people pleasing? I think people pleasing is a part of codependency. Codependency, as far as I know, my understanding of it is a term created for people who are in the lives of those with substance abuse. It was created for that purpose, or it was created as a term for that purpose. And we extend it over into people who are toxic, into being in the lives of people who are toxic, because it tends to be that codependent types, that seems to be the same types of behaviors, are the same types of behaviors that people who live with addicts have. So it's the people pleasing is a piece of it. So the difference is the people pleasing is rolled up into the codependency, but that doesn't mean I prefer the term people pleaser because I don't like to label things I don't even really like to say they're a narcissist. I like to say they have narcissistic traits or they behave in narcissistic ways and they're not displaying any empathy. Therefore, they're toxic, right? So, because I can't diagnose people and it also feels more real to me that it doesn't matter whether someone has NPD or they're just acting narcissistic, they're being toxic, right? It changes it for me in my head, but don't worry, it's not to do with you. Okay, depends on the person. I go out of my way for that person all the time. Then and you want to set a limit there, then I would do it slowly. And I would find things that matter the least to them, whether you go out of their way, and tell them far in advance that they don't feel like you're setting them up and then saying no. Does that make sense? As fair as you can, using clear language, being direct without a whole lot of drama around it, without a lot of explanation. Just, you know what, I don't have time for that. Or gosh, I thanks, but I don't have time, you know, whatever. It's not going to work for me this time. Things like that. What do you fear if you say no to them? What do you fear will happen? Every time my 10-year-old students in my class said they worried about showing that they were upset about something. Says a lot, doesn't it? Yes, it does. Yes, but I better ask privately as I'm not shy anymore. But I think this needs a private, serious reply. Okay, you can email me. Did you get my email, Coach Lise C, COACHLISEC @gmail.com? Let's see. Sorry, I'm reading here. Okay, anything else? Oh, COACHLISEC @gmail.com. And I can put it's in the comments. Oh, it's not today. It normally is. Forgot to do that part. If you check yesterday's video or last week's video, it'll be in there on the main, description of any video, and I'll have it up there in a few. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we end today? Any topic ideas for this week? Taken ideas. I have an idea to write a Dear Narcissist letter. And I don't mean dear as in I love you, dear. To where we all compile what we would want to say if they actually cared. So we just get it out there and use our voices to describe what it's like to be with you folks, you narcissists, right? And how we are able to heal from you. And sadly, you've come into our lives and created this issue. Anyway, I want to compile other people's thoughts together with my own for that. So if anyone has anything, send them my way. Anything else that you would like to talk about, any issues or concerns or topics that you think would be interesting, you can always leave them in any comment to any live stream, and I will see them. I try to go through them a couple times a day. By the way, if I ever post videos, do I ever post videos sent in recordings? I mean, of narcissists? I have not. I would have to check with the boss on that one and see what the rules are for that. I have not done that. But I also, yeah. Okay. Not going to say because I'm not sure how I'm going to work that one yet. Anyway. So if anyone has, like I said, if you have a topic or a question or anything like that, you know where to reach me. Some parents do just asking. Yeah, I don't know what the rules are, so I will ask. Okay. Okay. Oh, we're at almost an hour. Here we go. Thank you guys for joining me. Hit subscribe if you have not already done so. If you enjoy this topic or these live streams, hit the thumbs up so I know which types of topics you guys like to talk about and I can bring more of them in. And I wish you all the best with your healing. And I will see you guys next time. Goodbye. Oh, I forgot. Text 33222. Lise Live, LISE, and I will send you a text about 5 to 10 minutes before going live if you would like a notification that way. And that's it. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.